Hello, and welcome to The Prodigal Life. I'm Deacon Harold, and joined by Ellen and Nick. And we are here to help you move your faith to a deeper place in God's loving heart.
What are we talking about today?
A fun topic.
Oh, okay.
Fasting and mortification.
Oh, literally the most fun topic.
Just gonna be, you're gonna be right on the edge of your seat for the entire time. We promise you that. No, actually though, I mean, I know what fasting is. I've been intermittent fasting for like 10 years of my life. I get that. But I don't know that I understand it in religious terms. But like mortification, now there's a word that I hear people talking about it. I've heard my priest speak about it on the altar. I really don't understand what it is. So we're gonna have Deacon explain where those come from and what mortification is and what fasting is in the Bible.
Yeah, so mortification is just a sense of guilt or shame. Well, or the way we use it is a sense of guilt or shame caused by our sins and caused by the understanding that we do things that are separating from God. And so what you see, what the church talks about in mortification, we're kind of crucifying those desires. And so some saints take it to an extreme, like self-flagellation. You're like, they used to actually take whips and beat themselves when they have these desires that come up, or lusts, or human things that happen,
or like tie an uncomfortable rope that's like rough, or even something more harsh than a rope around their thigh.
Well, and then there's the saints that slept on the floor with a rock as their pillow.
Yeah, that's
hair shirts and things like that. I mean, these are ways of mortifying those desires that come up that separate you from God. Mm-hmm. And so those acts are called mortifications. And of course, fasting is something that, again, goes way back, even before Christianity.
Really?
Even with in the Jewish faith, there was an expectation of fasting. And the main thing about fasting is emptying yourself so you can fill yourself with God. So typically you fast from food, right? And when you're fasting from food, it's that and you're hungry, right? You get this hunger and this longing for the food. But what fasting reminds you of, what you're really longing for, what you're really hungering for, is a deep, intimate relationship with God. That's what fasting reminds you of, and it's a powerful and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, in the context of the show today. But Jesus talks about the powerful combination of prayer and fasting. And often we have the prayer piece, but we don't have the fasting piece united.
Well, when he was in the desert, he fasted for 40 days, right? I mean, like no food, no nothing, which is, not a bar that I think any of us can meet. But I think I always thought that was a pretty powerful thing to think about, was fasting for 40 days and 40 days and 40 nights, right? I mean, it was a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you think of fasting and mortification?
I think fasting, fantastic, huge fan. Mortification, I think that if there is a very acute reason that you feel compelled by the Holy Spirit or maybe spiritual director even, to go down that road, I think that it's a good and virtuous thing to do. But I think that it should not be confused with something that we should all be doing. In an explicit way that we see in some of the stories that we have from the saints or something. Because I think that we can be overly scrupulous about and even prideful in pursuing some of these things. Okay. Like, I'm so holy, I can do this.
Right.
And I think that there is some of that. And I think that what it negates is that our bodies are an amazing gift, and this life is an amazing gift. And I think that mortification can verge, if it's not done super well and virtuously and for the right reasons, it can verge into a territory where you are basically denying gift of I don't know, enjoying your life, and it is a gift from God, and we shouldn't. I feel like we can also emotionally.
All right, let's give an example here, Nick. So say you struggle with pornography as many men and women, increasing number of women do now. So back in the day, if a monk or just a regular layperson or something with those feelings start to come up of lust, they take a whip and start beating themselves until that, okay, I don't want to feel that anymore, right? Yeah. So, but what do we do? What would be a modern form of mortification? Obviously not that extreme, but those feelings start to come up. And you recognize it. You go, I have to crush that. I mean, because I want to stay close to God. So what would be like a modern mortification?
And also, to be clear, that would be an example where I think it could be healthy to pursue mortification.
Right, exactly. So that's why I asked it, because I was saying, what's a good way that people can do mortification today?
Yeah, and wasn't it Saint Benedict? Was it Saint Benedict or Saint Francis that would like throw himself into a thorn bush when he would struggle with impurity or whatever?
Yeah, that's right.
And that's some serious mortification.
That's mortification. Like, I've got this feeling. Yeah, there's a thorn bush. Dive headfirst into it.
But in today's world, what can you do? Because so many people.
That happened once. Actually, I was
thorn bush.
I was chasing. Actually, that happened once. I was chasing a suspect with one of my officers. He's our firearms training officer, and I heard the pursuit on the radio. I said, "Oh, if I take this, I could cut the guy off." And so we ran and we cornered this guy. And we had the taser out. We didn't want to shoot him. We had the taser out, so get on the ground. He didn't want to do it, so we're like, oh no, we're gonna have to do something here. But then he turned around and dived headfirst into a thorn bush.
Oh gosh.
And we're like, and Manu, that's the guy, and he goes, I ain't going after him.
Yeah, he earned that freedom.
Yeah, no, but the police came with the dogs and they got him like that. Yeah. But anyway, sorry.
Not worth it, bro.
Yeah.
Who knew fasting and mortification could be so much fun?
Yeah, we were being sarcastic when we said that. So I think modern day, I've known, and I myself in the past, you could put a stone in your shoe.
Yeah,
right. That's a really easy and non-violent.
That's so annoying too.
Well, see, that's the point.
I know.
That is the point. But so that is to me kind of what I was getting at about what I don't like about mortification is that it's violence to the body when you take it too far.
Right.
And this body is a gift.
It's your temple. It's the temple of
God. And so putting a temple in your shoe, putting a pebble in your shoe is a very non-violent way to basically achieve the same ends, because that's going to be annoying as hell. Like putting a stone there, or there are other things like that that to me, or I've known some guys that if they're struggling with something, they'll pinch themselves in a way that stands out to them, and obviously that's verging more on violence, but it's also
but it's for a good reason. So it's
and it also is not whipping yourself,
Correct.
And so there are things like that I think if preventative measures are not helping enough, right? So I feel like you can also take other steps that don't have to be mortification, like an accountability partner, like getting Covenant Eyes on all of your devices and having that accountability partner.
Covenant Eyes, that's what it's called?
Yes, it's one example of software that basically limits the ability of any of your devices to consume content that is
beautiful
labeled that you shouldn't.
We can put a link up to that. That's a good thing.
Yeah, sure. And then in that you get an accountability partner that gets to see anything you do basically in that software, and vice versa, theoretically, right? And so there are measures you can take before you get to that point of mortification, or if you're really wanting to be hardcore, do both. But just don't hurt yourself in an explicit way also.
Yeah, don't be abusive to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So
and when the saints and those guys did it, they didn't do it out of the sense like, oh, I'm really, they did out of the sense of really trying to crucify those desires that separated them from God. But again, they went to an extreme.
But look at what St. Clair
because
did.
they did it doesn't mean that we.
Well, and I get squeamish about it when I see the children of Fatima doing mortification. It's like, what the hell? You guys didn't do anything wrong. What are you struggling with? You're separate kids.
But they agreed to. But then I look at the simple thing that St. Clair did. Not that St. Clair was simple at all, but she cut her hair. All of it off.
Yeah, so the mortification of her vanity.
See, that right, there you go. That's,
she did the mortification of her vanity. And you can, not that we're recommending everybody go out and cut their hair off, you know what I'm saying? But usually...
Yeah, well, it's a good look, actually.
Exactly, look
right,
at it, I'm
Nick?
surrounded.
We're killing it over here.
Completely surrounded. But, trying to figure out what that is. And, I'll tell you, for me, recently, I've kind of had this draw to wear more modest clothing. You know what I mean? Almost like just long shirts and and long clothing, everything else. And I'll tell you, wearing really oversized dresses and stuff like that, it's hard. I mean, it's very.
I can't seem to get them on. So
no. But I mean, just for women, because women, we always are trying to, show off our figures and accentuate this and that. And of course, you have to be careful as to the reason why you're doing it. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to draw anybody else into sin. But to make a conscious effort. Like that's why the nuns, they wear habits, you know what I mean? And it's because they're not trying to draw attention to themselves. And it's very, in this world, in this society, it's been a big wake-up call for me. So now I bought like 8 different outfits that I wear that are not flattering per se. And I am aware, it's almost like a mortification. I just didn't know that's what I was doing. Like, you know what I mean? I had no idea what to call it. But I had this call to it to try and, to be in it. I'm very conscious of it when I put on the outfit.
Yeah.
And it was something I kind of got called to because, I struggling. We're going to do a talk on the 7 deadly sins. That's going to be really fun. Stay buckled up for that one. But, vanity is something I think that can be huge as needing mortification.
Yeah, I can relate. I have to make myself look worse every day.
Every day.
For the sake of my own virtue.
Well, I mean, I think wearing the clothes, because what that does, it forces the person to deal with you as a person.
Yes.
Right? And not have to
not an object.
Right, exactly.
That's so good.
Exactly.
Yeah. So think about what you're wearing, and try it. I mean, really try to do something a little bit different than what you normally do, especially females. I think it might be easier, but, you wear something that you might not necessarily be comfortable putting on that obviously is for modesty reasons, and just go about your day in it. And it really will make you think about who you are. It's pretty transformative. I don't know. It's new. This is a new thing in the journey.
And that is a beautiful mortification when done for the reasons you're talking about. Because if you think about how in our society, there is this compulsion for men and women to present themselves well and to be considered attractive and appealing and whatever. But then for women who are the jewel of creation, right? Like women are that pinnacle thing, the last thing God created. And it is proper to the woman's spirit and nature to have that desire to be beautiful because she is beautiful and present herself that way. But that can also become twisted and distorted by the society and the whispers of the devil with comparison and all that stuff. And so dying to the vanity of pursuing that is a beautiful thing. And yet, Ellen, you're an incredibly elegant woman. Like I know you don't wear makeup and stuff, but I never would have, like you carry yourself with this dignity and this beauty that is of the spirit, I think. And I just wanted to thank you for that. Yeah.
I mean, it's a struggle though. I mean, I don't like getting old. I'm not going to lie to you. It ain't fun. I mean, like wrinkles. I'm like, what is going on here? You know what I mean? Because the brain doesn't ever seem to know that the body's getting old. Like you still feel like you're 12 or 15 or 20 or whatever. And then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, crap. Yeah. That really happened.
Or if you're like us, you see yourself on a video and you're like, yikes.
Yeah. But, I decided a long time ago to not wear makeup. I tried it in my 30s and I was like, this is just not really a good thing to do, and I've earned every wrinkle that I have. You know what I mean? All through life experience, some good, some bad. But, I think we need to be more proud about wearing who we are and what we've gone through. Because, they're battle scars. Some are good, some are bad. Some were victories, some were definite defeats. But, everything you have, like a woman's stretch marks from bearing children, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Don't let anyone ever tell you that your stretch marks are not beautiful.
It's like the idolatry of youth and even just beauty. Like my wife, I overheard this conversation my wife was having with her friends about like feeling unattractive when they get pregnant. And I'm just like, are you kidding me?
It's magnificent.
Man, first of all, like scientifically, biologically, what men find attractive about women ultimately always boils down to their fertility. And when you're pregnant, that is the epitome of being a fertile woman. And are you kidding me? There's
beautiful.
Nothing more attractive to your husband than seeing his wife pregnant. Now, that is true if the man has his head on straight. There are some men that are so superficial and caught up in the crap of this world, and it's heartbreaking to me to think about women feeling undesirable as a result of pregnancy, which is such a powerful and beautiful thing. But man, my wife's pregnant right now, and goodness gracious me. It gets me excited. Like she's amazing.
Yay!
But the society has this programming, like you got to have that hourglass figure, and you got to, and it's so tragic because they have no idea how beautiful they are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just
That's so true. And I think we switching gears a little bit to the fasting piece. I think that we have an underappreciation for fasting as Catholics. And for example, Lent. How many fasting days do we have in Lent?
not many. 6, 5, 6. No, 7, 8. I'm adding them up.
I'm just enjoying watching this happen.
How many is it?
1.
Really?
Think about it. Ash Wednesday. The Fridays are abstinence days, not fasting
true. So
days.
it's one day
And Good
for all
Friday
of
is
Lent?
not part of Lent. Lent ends with the start of the Mass
Correct.
of the Last Supper
Right.
on Holy Thursday.
Right.
So
You have one day.
One day.
One
now
day.
think about our Muslim brothers. This is Ramadan. They fast every day. So there's a lot of room for improvement when it comes to fasting.
We got it pretty
Right.
good.
You know?
The burden is
So-
easy, and the yoke is easy.
and it's
Yeah,
food.
burden is light.
So the thing is, outside of Lent, we can get creative. You know, what about fasting from some things that you enjoy?
Right.
So, for example, baseball season, right? I'm not going to watch the Cincinnati Reds for a month.
That's a fast.
You know, it's not for some people. What you mean I can't watch? They're my favorite baseball team. Da, da, da. So again, not having that, I really should be watching right now. You're just like, But that angst, that desire, that longing, ultimately is for our ultimate desire, which is God.
Amen.
And so fasting for that, united with your prayer, because remember, Jesus, he sent the 72 out. Someone came back and said, "Man, we could do all this cool stuff. There's some demons we couldn't cast out. What happened?" Jesus said, "Oh yeah, those dudes right there, they can only be cast out by prayer and fasting." So even the Lord tells us about that powerful combination of prayer and fasting, and we often forget the fasting piece. So when we're praying for for example, our kids who are away from the church, or we're fasting for a specific thing, or praying for a specific thing, don't forget to add the fasting piece and get creative. Yeah, you could do bread and water for 2 days a week or whatever, or you could fast for something you enjoy, but it's the intention, doing it with intentionality, for, your prayer, whatever your intention is.
Wow. Taking time away from something that you really, really would love and enjoy. It's kind of almost a combination between fasting and mortification. You know what I mean? Because you can do it and serve both.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I kind of like that. I think it makes it more powerful because, you're going to suffer a little bit because it's something you really enjoy. You know what I mean? Like maybe you get your nails done every week.
Yeah, see, there you go.
I'm going to go I'm only going to go once a month. Your nails aren't going to look great, but it's going to be a constant reminder of why you're doing it. And you're doing it because you wanted to give something back to God to thank Him. I don't know. I think it's good. It's like a visual.
It's going to be difficult. Like some people like coffee.
Yeah.
Like some people can't function without coffee.
True. I have many friends like that.
Nick's right.
My daughter. Yeah.
There's some people that literally cannot function without coffee, right? Or so I'm going to say for sex. Well, hold on. There's 2 people involved in that thing, right? So it's not fair to your spouse.
Right.
If I'm going to say, well, wait a minute. What about me?
The coffee thing, if you go to Starbucks every morning to get a coffee, a really good way to give something else, say, I'm just going to make my coffee at home.
Oh, yeah.
Something as simple as that.
Yeah, instead of getting a fancy coffee, just have a humble
Make a coffee
cup at home.
humble at home and offer that. Like there's so many little ways you could think about doing that.
That's a good, because for example, I don't drink coffee.
Right.
So if I walk this, I want coffee. They're going to look at me like, what's wrong with you?
You could mortify yourself by drinking coffee.
Mocha latte, frappe, cappe. I don't know what that stuff is.
Yeah.
I just want coffee.
I think you just quoted my drink from yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're saying the mortification for me is to drink coffee because I don't like coffee.
Right.
Wow. I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, things like that. I mean, and it's so easy to do that once you really know about it. But I don't think that, unfortunately, nobody really talks about mortification. We talk about fasting. I mean, especially during Lent and
Nobody
stuff
wants
like that.
to hear about it
But
nowadays.
nobody really wants to talk
Yeah.
about mortification. And mortification doesn't have to be whipping yourself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you said, it's just doing a little something less or in a different way that is a little bit painful, not where you're going to kill yourself, so that you can have a constant reminder of what Jesus did for you. You know what I mean? And who God is, and bringing yourself into closer communion.
And there is a science to it biologically about how it can serve the purpose of fighting temptations of
Everything.
lust or
Alcohol,
unchastity.
shopping,
Literally,
pick.
yeah. And there's
Gluttony.
so much science behind that. There's so much research behind that, and even in the secular world, and for us to incorporate that without, again, doing violence to the self in a way that is unhealthy, I think is super valuable.
Well, they say if you do something 1,000 times, it becomes a habit. So, that's kind of a benchmark.
So make sure you don't breach like nine.
No, don't go to 999 because it won't happen. No, I'm just kidding. So, alrighty. Well, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good. So, do either one of you fast, like other than regular?
Yeah, so I fast for specific things. If something's going on with one of my kids, for example, I'll do a fast. Or here's something very interesting. Someone at a parish mission told me this the other day, and they weren't aware of this. So they were in the confessional with the priest, confessed their sins, and the priest was giving out the penance. And part of the penance that the priest said, he gave them I forget, Hail Marys or whatever. But then the priest said, I'm going to fast for you for 30 days.
Whoa.
I was like,
That's amazing.
hold up.
That's
Whoa,
beautiful.
that's awesome. And he went out to the confession going, holy cow, the priest is going to fast for me for 30 minutes.
Wow.
I was like,
Talk
wow.
about building relationship and, being Christ-like.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Wow. I've never heard that before.
I was like, wow, I
Ever.
didn't think about that,
So for all the priests that watch this show, that's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, you got to be
Holy
selective.
mackerel.
You can't
Yeah.
just do that for every confession. But
No, but you know what I
yeah.
mean? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
to use, what a weapon.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
What a
so I'll
weapon.
fast. For example, besides the food thing, by the way, every Friday is still an abstinence day, right? So what I'll do is I won't eat meat on Fridays, which is normal anyway. That's actually still normal. The normal practice in the church is except for Fridays within octaves, right? So for Fridays at a solemnity. So
You can eat on those.
the week of Easter, right? Easter Sunday and Easter week, every day is a solemnity. So you can eat meat on Friday because it's a solemnity, right? But I will only eat one meal a day or something like that. In addition to not eating meat, I only eat one meal a day. Or I'm a huge rail fan. I love trains and stuff. So I'll stop. I won't watch train videos, or I won't go looking at trains. I'll just fast from that for a while.
Wait, there's videos of trains that you watch?
Oh yeah.
I've literally
Yeah.
never heard of that.
You have to talk to my dad.
Oh yeah, train videos. Oh yeah.
He
I
has
want
a
to hear
lot of
about this
training.
later.
My dad is a train guy, and he actually volunteers on a train up in Alna.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I'm a huge rail
And
fan. So
my dad, you and my dad are gonna-
I won't watch train videos. For
I would
a
love
while.
to see what those are.
They're
at some
beautiful.
Yeah, I
point.
have some on my phone actually.
They're on his phone.
I do my own videos
love
on the
it.
phone
Oh
too.
my gosh,
Yeah,
All right,
it's
so
pretty
Deacon
cool.
Harold is a train aficionado type person.
Yeah.
That's good. And my dad
Yeah.
is too, so that's kind of a quirky little thingy.
Yeah,
So,
there's a name that the railroad people call folks like myself. They call us what's the word again? Foamers, because we foam at the mouth every time we see a train.
that is hilarious. No,
Or I play guitar, so I won't pick up the guitar for a week or two or something like that.
That's
because I
good.
intentionally fasting from that
it's beautiful.
for a particular intention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Yeah, I've never heard of that before. What about you? Fast regularly?
Yeah,
or-
so I actually just got done with a super intensive program called Exodus 90.
Oh yeah.
nice.
Yeah, so that ended on Easter, thanks be to God. Ask me if I'm ever doing it again.
Are you
No.
ever doing it?
No, but
Cold
it's
showers, right?
Oh my gosh! So 90 days of cold showers, cold and short, which the short is a benefit there. 90 days of no alcohol, every Wednesday and Friday no meat, and I mean, there's so many things. The one part of Exodus 90 that I actually really liked was the prayer life that it introduced. So literally a holy hour every single day.
Oh, nice.
Incredible. That is transformative.
Oh, it's a transformative program.
And that's, they always ask you like, well, what are you going to carry over from Exodus after Exodus? I'm like, nothing. Other than the prayer life, because the prayer life part of it was incredible. You fast from basically anything good in life you don't get to do during Exodus 90.
It was beneficial for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What was the greatest benefit of that?
I think simplifying my existence, cutting out all media, cutting out video games, cutting out like literally anything stimulating, and no music, like cutting everything out.
Wow, that must have been hard for you. So that's like a fasting and mortification.
It really is.
Wow.
You also are meant to do strenuous exercise 3 times a week, like just a ton of stuff, and it was incredible. But it sucked. But it was incredible.
Right.
Yeah.
But it makes you appreciate things.
It really does make you appreciate things, and very explicitly, I can say tangibly, I felt more connected to God through that time.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And that's the purpose. I mean, that's what the Exodus 90 people are trying to do, is they're really trying to help people build that close relationship. So that's great.
Yeah.
That is really good.
How about you?
I've been intermittent fasting for health reasons, because I have an autoimmune disorder for almost 10 years. And but it was until when the faith journey started, you know what I mean, back in 2017, 2018.
Oh, I thought you said the year 1718. I was like,
no.
Wow, that's a long time.
That's a long time. That's why I was qualifying
You weren't
that.
even-
So 2017, 2018.
Declaration of Independence wasn't even there yet.
I know, it's funny, isn't it? I still was fasting. I usually fast a minimum of 15 to a maximum of 24 hours a day, every day. It's just very normal. Sometimes I'll eat 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day. And I have a particular eating habit, that I've been doing for about almost 3 years. But it was funny. I was in adoration one time. This is true. And
Just so you know, I always assume everything you tell me is true.
oh, good.
So
That's good. But I was in adoration, and the fasting, I've been doing it pretty much for my health, because I never thought about it as being applicable in my faith journey. I didn't connect the two. I just know no meat on Friday. You know what I'm saying? Or, fasting on Ash Wednesday. But I never, it was, it's that thing where the heart and the mind just are sometimes very disconnected. And so I was in adoration, and, I heard the voice in it, and it was like, so why aren't you fasting for me? Why aren't you fasting for me? And I was like, and I just started, I'm gonna cry right now. Like, there's certain things that, and I was like, wow, what do you do with that? You're in adoration. You can hear the voice of God asking you why you're not fasting for him. And I never thought about it that way. Like, I never had that realization. And so I was like, oh, I really need to think about this. So then my fasting has changed since that happened, because this only happened probably a year ago. It was about a year ago. Maybe not even a year, 9 months. I mean, it's been because I just always fasting because, keep your weight in check, help with the autoimmune disorder. I'm trying to get off the only medication I take, which is for my thyroid, because it's a thyroid disorder, and everything else. But it was always about that. It was always about me. It was always about my health and what I needed, and trying to do this, and, trying to stay in good shape and all this other stuff. But I never knew that, God calls you to fast for him so that he can work through you to help others in your fasting. And I never thought about it that way. You know what I mean? Like you were saying, earlier. And I was like, oh, and so I'm there, and I'm on my knees, and I'm like, oh, wow. And so since then, the last few months, there's just been this massive transformation of fasting. And now I've done 48-hour fast and 24-hour fast. The longest one I ever did was 91 hours. 48 to 72 is kind of where I like to push to. But, just doing a 24-hour fast or a 36-hour fast. And it's wonderful that God designed our bodies so that doing fasts like that is actually one of the most healing things that you can do. If you look at what autography can do in your body when you do fast, it's almost like God rebuilds you medically. Like if you ever look it up, what happens when you fast for up to 48 hours at each moment and what the cells are doing, that's God. Like that's all God. Like by fasting, he can heal you. The you that is the temple of God.
It's amazing.
And like I never thought about it that way. Like I never had realization that it isn't just fasting for fasting's sake. It's fasting for God so that he can heal you. But not just heal you spiritually, not just bring you into closer communion with him, so he can heal your body. I was like, it's genius. And I thought, I'm there in adoration on my knees before Jesus going, wow. And it's just like, why aren't you fasting for me? I was like, oh, okay. Little old me, you know what I mean? It was just this massive reality check. And so fasting has become good, and mortification, like I didn't know that's what it was called, ignorance of, whatever, but I just didn't know. I always thought it was just, I grew up with those because I'm Irish Catholic, and I grew up with the offer it up. Offer it up. Something didn't go your way, offer it up. You didn't get to go. Like I remember being with my mother, and my brother and I'd be like, oh, we want to get an ice cream, whatever. And she'd say, no, offer it up. But I never really knew that was mortification. Because my brother and I really would want an ice cream or something, and my mother would be like, no, offer it up. Or, we wanted to do this or that, or stay up late, or watch a show that we weren't really allowed to watch, or whatever it was. And that was always the traditional answer, was offer it up. And I'm sure if any of y'all were Irish Catholic, you heard that word a lot. But now I know that's mortification. But unfortunately, it wasn't used as a teaching tool. So I think a really healthy thing that parents could do is when they say no to their child, explain it in terms of giving something back to Jesus, giving something back to God, giving something to the Holy Spirit, and explain what that no means. I remember I used to take the kids grocery shopping, which is always so much fun. You know what I mean? Because they touch everything and they want everything in the basket and whatever. And, and I had to teach them over time because I had 3 under the age of 6. So it was a very busy shopping experience. And they'd all be there and, whatever. And I would look at them when they go for something. I'd say, well, that's not yours. And they would be like, I'm like, well, that's not yours. Oh, can we have candy? No, not this time. But I didn't ever use it as a teaching tool to say, we're not going to get that right now because, baby Jesus needs, you know what I mean? And I could have used it as a teaching tool to teach them about mortification, to teach them about, not always getting what you want, but I didn't. But I did try to teach them what was theirs and what wasn't theirs, you know what I mean? And not to touch stuff and all this other stuff. We had an experience once in a store. We went shopping, and one of the children, I cannot remember which one, took something out of the store we hadn't paid for.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, they were little. We had just moved to North Carolina. I mean, I think we'd been there. This is 2000. This year was 2000. They were small. Claire was born in 98. So, all my kids were tiny. And we got there, and I can't remember if one told on the other one. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but it was probably like that. Mm-hmm. And I made them take it out, and they were like, they thought they were going to, he or she thought they were going to keep it. And I was like, oh, yeah, no. Mm-hmm. So I put them all back in. I had to get the baby back in the cart, you know what I mean? And we went back into the store, and I asked for the manager. And I was like, my son or my daughter, I can't remember which one, took this. And, I don't know if you want to call the police or whatever, because this is wrong. This is theft. I mean, you can't do this. And he was like, I remember the look of the manager's face. He's like, you want me to call the police? I was like, oh yeah, I think you should call the police.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's very important. And they were like, 5, 6 and 3 and, 18 months or whatever. And the manager was like, okay. And he was like, all right. So he did. And it wasn't like done that way. It wasn't like to get them arrested or anything like that, but it was to put a point. I wanted them to remember that is not theirs. You can't take what is not yours without paying for it. You just can't. And, that goes back to Jesus, you know what I mean? But you can't take what's not yours without paying for it. So they did, and we did the whole thing. They have never, to this day, they will never forget that. Now, it wasn't done meanly. It wasn't done, I was supposed to scare them, because what is respect ultimately? Fearing, we're supposed to fear God. A lot of people don't understand what fearing God means. It's the authority. You know what I mean? And be respectful. See, to me, fear with a relationship with God is that's what it is, respect. What's the chain of authority? What is right? What is morally right? What is morally wrong? What should you do? What shouldn't you do? And that was a teaching moment. But, there was some mortification after that, though. But they didn't know it was mortification. But there was no TV. There was no, you know what I mean? Because we use punishment, go sit in the corner. Go sit in the corner. That means they're just going to sit there and think about all kinds of other things. Where if there's
my wife still tells me to sit in the corner sometimes.
How's that go?
I'm kidding.
I'm just kidding. So anyway, fasting and mortification, kind of fun.
Yeah. The most fun.
We thought it was going to be painful and boring, but it wasn't. It was really, really kind of fun.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for joining us for this issue episode. I guess it's an episode, not an issue, but that's
It's not a magazine. But.
It's not a magazine.
Thank you for joining us for this publication.
Here we are, but we're going to put it into print. No, and go to theawakenapp.io and download it, and then you can contribute and be a part of everything, and then also download it at your Apple Store or your Google Play Store and put it on your phone, and you can get content and messaging and music and everything else. And then Deacon's going to tell you how you can help us by supporting us and becoming a patron.
Just go to theprodigalife.com, and there you will see different options to be able to support us on a monthly basis. And we've tied it with the different hierarchies of angels. So be that good angel and support the Prodigal Life.
God bless you all. Thank you.